Hey there, my name is Megan and welcome to my channel, or welcome back. Today I'm going to be recommending 10 fantasy books that have cozy fantasy vibes, books that you might not think could be considered cozy fantasy, but are just the perfect books to curl up on the couch on a rainy, stormy day under a blanket with a cup of tea or coffee and just be immersed in these magical worlds. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump on into the book recommendations. The first book is Tress of the Emerald Sea by Brandon Sanderson, which is one of his standalone works. And the reason that I consider this a cozy fantasy is because of how whimsical the world is. Brandon is known for his immaculate world building, but in this book we have oceans that are made up of spores that contribute to the magic system. And then we have our main character, Tress, who is such a gentle, compassionate main character, and a character that people just can't help but love. The world is very rich and imaginative, definitely not harsh or grimdark, and the entire tone of the book is hopeful and uplifting, as Tress's main goal is just to save the person that she loves the most. Additionally, this book does have a very light and humorous tone. It is narrated by Hoyd, who does bring a comedic perspective on the entire story. So while I wouldn't say that this book is technically cozy fantasy, it does have those elements. Hey guys, if you are enjoying this video, please consider hitting that subscribe button as well as giving this video a like to throw my channel a little bit of support. Also, I am the author of the science fiction book Aftermath, which is currently available on Amazon in paperback, Kindle, and Kindle Unlimited. It currently has a 4.41 rating on Goodreads. I will link it up in the cards as well as in the description box below if you're looking to support an indie author. Thank you all so much. Next, we have The Night Circus by Erin Morgenstern, which is another standalone fantasy. This entire setting is a magical circus, which I absolutely love. There is so much whimsy in this story. It is so atmospheric. We have things like ice castles, cloud mazes, enchanted tents, just elements of the world building that you could totally immerse yourself in on a rainy day. While this story does revolve around a magical competition, the main focus is on a growing love between the two main characters, Celia and Marco. So the focus of this story is not so much a brutal competition, but of perseverance and love. Additionally, I find the prose of The Night Circus to be very purpley, very flowery. It's like immersing yourself in a poem, which I think lends itself to the cozy feeling. Then we have one of my favorite standalone fantasies of all time, and that is The Hobbit by J.R.R. Tolkien. And the reason I think this book has cozy elements is because Bilbo is such a peaceful, modest hobbit. All he wants to do is live in his comfy hobbit hole and eat his good food.
I can't just go running off into the blue. I am a Baggins.
Wait!
Of Baggin.
And yes, he is called away on an adventure, but the story focuses more on Bilbo's growth and his gaining courage rather than being combative and warlike. Additionally, Tolkien knows how to incorporate a humorous tone into this story. He incorporates poems, songs, riddles that kind of contrast some of the darker elements. And then we have Tolkien's description of all of these beautiful landscapes that I am just utterly immersed in every time I read one of his books, and it's just the perfect for a cozy rainy day. Then we have Hunted by Megan Spooner. This is a Beauty and the Beast retelling, so right away, I find that fairy tale-like stories or retellings automatically have those cozy feelings because they're familiar to us. And in this book, we're following Yeva, and I find that this is a perfect book to read in winter. There is so much imagery, and it's a direct contrast to the castle that Yeva finds herself living in, which is very warm and cozy. And then we also have a very slow burn romance between the Beast and Yeva. It is definitely built on mutual respect rather than any sort of toxicity. The magic in this world is incredibly subtle. It is based mostly on old lore. And then Yeva does have a personal journey that she goes through, and she goes on this personal quest that I found really interesting, and unlike the original fairy tale, I find this book to be incredibly cozy because of the setting, the landscape, and the slow burn romance between our two protagonists. Then we have A Sorcery of Thorns by Margaret Rogerson. In this book, we are following a girl girl named Elizabeth, and she works in the Great Library, which houses grimoires, and these grimoires are sentient and they can sigh, they can sometimes misbehave. So right away, we have a cozy library setting with living books. We also have a love interest named Nathaniel, who does have an animal companion that is super, super loyal and adds just that extra element to the story. And the relationship between the three of them is incredibly charming. There's definitely that found family vibe, and the plot focuses a lot on Elizabeth's growth over the course of the book. There are dark elements to this story, like dark sorcery and things like that, but I think the cozy elements are definitely integrated very well into the story. There's no gore, there's limited violence, and the overall tone of the book is very uplifting and hopeful rather than grimdark or nihilistic. Then we have The Raven Cycle by Maggie Stiefvater, and the reason that I consider this cozy fantasy is because it is way more character driven than plot driven. This book follows a group of 4 best friends, and then there is a girl named Blue who is integrated into their group, and these friends are incredibly loyal to one another. They have their own banter, their own inside jokes, and they do grow together as a group. This story takes place in the small town of Henrietta, Virginia in the USA, and it is characterized by this ancient magical forest. It does add that kind of coziness to the story. The magic is definitely not flashy at all. And then we also have Blue, our female character, who lives with her aunts, and there is this house of women, these psychic magical women, and it's just so warm and loving and fun and funny. I wish that the author would have kind of segued off and written some books that focus on Blue and the aunts, because that would have been just so much fun. So we have magic that is subtle, found family, warm, loving, actual family, and ancient forests in a small southern town, which definitely gives cozy vibes. Then we have The Hexologists by Josiah Bancroft. This can be read as a standalone, but there is going to be subsequent books that follow these characters. And the reason that I consider this more cozy fantasy is because it focuses on a married couple who are magical detectives, and they focus more on solving mysteries than engaging in big wars and battles and conflicts. The relationship between Warren and Isolde is very, very warm and loving and supportive. Their banter is really fun to read. I love Josiah Bancroft's humor. There is such a light tone to his books, even though the stakes can be somewhat high. And in this book especially, we do have a really interesting magical world, and we have some interesting magical creatures, including a dragon that guards ancient artifacts that will eat humans, but has a really fun relationship with Iz and Warren. Even though the stakes are high in this book, there is definitely not a lot of violence or gore, and like I said, focuses more on the main characters solving the mystery than getting into physical brawls and fights. This was definitely one of the favorite books that I have read so far this year. And last but not least, we have Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone. I feel like the early Harry Potter books embody that cozy fantasy feeling way more than the latter books as Harry ages, but especially books 1 and 2, because we have this really, really charming setting of this Gothic boarding school set in this remote English countryside that is absolutely beautiful. We have the found family trope between Ron and Hermione, and then the Weasley family at the Barrow is just so warm and loving. We have endearing animal characters like Hedwig. The magic is, in the beginning, way more delightful, way more charming, and more about the kids' curiosity as they learn to be witches and wizards, rather than the later books where the magic does become more dangerous.
Petrificus totalis.
I think that this book stands the test of time because it is so charming, and that's why readers of all ages still enjoy it. All right, you guys, that is it for 10 fantasy books that really, really embody those cozy fantasy elements and are perfect for reading on a stormy, rainy day, just to immerse yourself in worlds and escape into whimsy. Let me know in the comments if you have read any of these books and what you thought of them, or if you have any recommendations for cozy fantasy books. Thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you all in another video soon. Goodbye.